you can come by and support my streams tomorrow with tips, please. Please. Even if you don't like the games I'm playing, if you could just come by and support and give me some peace of mind so I don't have to worry about everything this week, you know, just tired of it.
Hello, and welcome to James, the Lesser Express Lane, where we get you in and out as fast as possible with DSP responded to Turkey Tom, but Turkey Tom responds to him. Let's watch.
Turkey Tom channel titled Dark Side Phil, a Decade of Failure. And the video got a relatively positive response. There were some people who wished I had gone more in depth with some aspects of Phil's life as a YouTube lolcow, but realistically the video is already 2 hours long. That's a lot of detail. With any of these lolcow type guys, there's of course the potential for literally 10 hours of content or more. There are entire channels dedicated to not even
He's not wrong.
talking about these guys, but just clipping them. I mean, I personally could make a whole new channel just for lolcow stuff. But firstly, while I do find these guys interesting, I have a Zoomer attention span, so I can't bring myself to dedicate like hours and hours every week to caring about them. And secondly, I tend to make a judgment call with my content where I want to sit somewhere between Sunny B2 and like the insanely detailed down the rabbit hole. Both of these guys are great at what they do. Sunny does very brief, bite-sized videos that are accessible for everyone. Frederick Nudson's Down the Rabbit Hole, on the other hand, aims to be like the most exhaustive, in-depth account of any subject, to the point where he puts out one video a year. I don't want that. I want to put out content consistently while also hitting a level of detail that is above what you would expect from the typical Sunny V2 video, which is why my videos tend to be 40 minutes to an hour as opposed to like 15 minutes or on the other end of the spectrum, 8 hours, right? And I'd like to add that while I do have negative commentary on people like DSP, I don't hate them. I don't particularly hate Phil very much because while making the video on him, I realized that he's honestly more boring than someone like Boogie, and certainly far more
Boring and pretty fucking pathetic.
Than Chris Chan. At the end of the day, the goal is just to make an entertaining video about these guys where I provide some good content for my audience to watch as they go about their day, whether they be intently watching it with 100% focus, they're high on stimulants, they're going crazy, or they're at work doing some task where they have headphones in and they're just trying to chill out and listen to a story. But of course, when I make videos about these guys, I do expect some kind of response from them now and then, and Phil did actually respond to my video already, albeit he said he hasn't really watched it yet, which is fine. I'm not demanding that he watch it or anything, but he did talk about
He totally watched it.
bit about it himself, talked about drama and some other topics on a stream recently, and you know, I thought it would be good to go over that.
Literally, it's not depressing to me, and here's why. All right? When I started on YouTube, I didn't know what I was getting into, nor did I sign up for it. I wasn't signing up to be one of the biggest gaming YouTubers. I didn't really care. To me, it was a joke. Literally, I said this over the years. To me, it was a complete joke. I never took it seriously. It wasn't until many, many years later that I started.
But it was your business. When you got fired, you immediately went with, all right, guys, this is my life now.
To take this, I would argue that until like the year 2016, I was always treating it.
You weren't fired in 2016. You were fired years before then. And that's when you made this literally your life.
Like a joke. And it wasn't until 2017 that I actually made an honest effort to actually make good content. Before then, it was just fuck around and everyone watches it and I make money. Like, seriously, that's what it was. But to me, that's not sad because I like who I am today better than I was back then. It doesn't matter if you argue that, oh, there's 10 years of failure, 10 years of decline. Yeah, but I'm better now than I ever was. My content's better.
Really? Really? Your content's better now when you gotta stop and cry and beg and, guys, they stole my stuff. They robbed me. Oh, what did they take? I left my grocery cart in the middle of the aisle, waddled away for 10 minutes. When I came back, the grocery cart was gone. They stole my stuff. You paid for stuff and it got stolen? Oh, no, I didn't pay for any of it yet. So what did they steal from you? I had reusable bags. You're a fucking moron.
It's positive, doesn't hurt anyone, it's not toxic. I get to enjoy time with my viewers rather than just put out content for money purposes. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand why you would think that that's a bad thing.
Not for money purposes. As you cry there and you beg every single stream, multiple times a stream.
I'm okay where I am. Unlike these other guys coming out with documentaries about how miserable they are with their lives and everything's fucked up and everything's falling apart. That's literally not happening to me. You get it? Like, I'm happier now and doing better now than I was before. So if you got a decade of failure, if you're better off now than you were, how could it be failure? It's actually completely the opposite. Yeah.
So his first issue with my video seems to be with the only part he's really seen, which is the title, which is Dark Side Phil, a Decade of Failure. Now, I've had a few people call this video clickbait. I mean, at the end of the day, when I title a video, I obviously have it in mind that I want it to do well. So I'm going to title it in a way that gets people to click it, right? To want to learn more about that subject. Call that clickbait if you want, but I would argue with this video, it's actually not clickbait because the video is basically going over 10 years of history wherein Phil was just up his life over and over again, whether it be the WWE Champions debacle, him failing to use a capture card until years into his career when everyone else was doing it, to his constant fighting with detractors, to his massive debt. I mean, there are a lot of, points to criticize Phil for. It's not inaccurate to say that his life has not been a major success. It has been, a failure in many aspects. Maybe a slightly more accurate title would be a decade of failure with also a lot of mediocrity, because he hasn't really tried much else.
Very mediocrity.
apart from YouTube Let's Plays in the last 10 years or so. But I personally would consider him going from the potential he had back in the day and the amount of eyes he had on him to where he is now to be a failure on his part. And that's why I think I can actually justify that title. Now, Phil does say that he's happier now than he's ever been, and that could be the case. I don't know what's going on inside his head, and if he does feel that he's genuinely a happy person and he's really looking forward to, you know, his job every day, then good for him. I'm not going to try to take away his happiness. I would like to see him react to my video, and like obviously I would want that, right? Because that's good content for me. And I think it'd be interesting to watch for viewers. And honestly, I would also like to interview Phil about his career and his life because I find him to be a fascinating dude, despite me saying that he is more boring than other lolcows. But I think most people would agree, like, compared to even like Boogie, like he's probably
Compared to like guys like Chris Chan, yeah, he's definitely more boring.
not as interesting. But at the end of the day, if he's truly happy with where he is as a person, then I don't wish to take that away from him. That being said, I feel there are things he could do to increase his profile, like going on the Lolcow podcast for an episode, which is out now, by the way, video soon. But you can't make him do what he doesn't want to do. At the end of the day, this is Phil's life. It's his prerogative to operate however he wants. And if he refuses to engage with drama in that way, then that's his choice. Now, I would argue that, you know, by even acknowledging my video or responding to the chatters, he is engaging with drama a little bit, right? Because people are going to clip it and put it on their channels, like the Duty Streams channel or whatever. And there's a bunch of other channels that
Shout out Duty!
do the same kind of thing, right? I mean, you got Mighty D, you got
Shout out Mighty D and Super Crazy.
Super Crazy, and there's a ton of other channels like this that do the same kind of
Like
thing.
mine,
And
hi.
obviously, like almost no matter what Phil does, they will clip him, whether it's positive or negative, because they just, you know, they find it interesting to laugh at him endlessly. But, you know, I think Phil could benefit from engaging with some of this stuff from time to time. It could actually yield some good results for his career, but if he really doesn't want to do that, what am I supposed to do, you know?
How could it be failure? It's actually completely the opposite. Yeah, I don't have as much money, but money is not the determining factor of success in life.
Kinda is. If you do something for 15 years and you're somehow making less money than you were when you're doing it year one, that's kinda sad. Majority of people, they've been with the same company for 15 years, they got promotions, they've gotten pay raises, they've gotten vacations, they've gotten health benefits, they've gotten, oh, hey, it's been here for 10 years, here's a little reward. Oh, hey, you've been here for 20 years, here's a little reward. Oh, you just hit 30 years. Here's this fancy watch. Not DSP. Doing this for 15 years and somehow is making less money. Is somehow doing less off than he was before. Imagine that.
If I'm happily married and I like the content now better than I used to do and everything, how
You're not married, it's a roommate.
the hell is that failure? But that's what I mean. Like, they want bait. They would just want to believe the negative rather than anything positive. Even though I've been saying ever since, you know, 2017, 2018, I'm happier now than I've ever been. No one wants to believe that. They want to say that's like hope or something. It's not. It's true. I actually love my life now more than ever before. I'm having a better time with my life now, you know? And I'm doing my best to try to actively improve. And I admit I'm not perfect. I make mistakes all the time. But I'm trying to be a better guy, and I'm trying to be a better content creator. And how is that not better off than all the contemporary lolcows who everyone hates their life? Oh, I'm so depressed, and I don't want to do this, and blah, blah, blah. I'm the opposite. I'm literally can't wait every day to come to work. I have
Then why are you late every single time? I love doing this, guys. Absolutely refuses to fucking show up on time.
so much fun with you guys every day. Why the hell wouldn't I want to do that? And I can spend time with my wife and my family. I'm having a great time with my life. So how is that failure, right?
All right, Phil, we're pushing it a little bit now. He seems to really have an issue with the term failure because he feels like his life is in a good place now. Well, to me, one mark of a lolcow is someone who's unwilling to change despite a clear sign that they probably should change. People like Boogie, who no matter how many chances he's given or how much advice he gets, he just repeats these same mistakes over and over. It almost feels like a genetic disorder where they just can't.
Like buying hookers for $200,000 worth? I'm sorry, they were models and escorts.
Cannot learn. And Phil is in the same boat. At the beginning of my video, I outlined Phil's financial irresponsibility early in his life, in perhaps the earliest manifestation of his ability to handle his finances in anything resembling a mature way. A 23-year-old Phil was living in a 3-bedroom apartment he knew he was going to move out of within half a year. In the meantime, he had no idea how he was going to pay his bills, let alone find and pay for another place to live in. With his only job prospects being an entry-level position at a Best Buy, Phil applied his business diploma to the best of his abilities. Instead of buckling up and being frugal, hoping to scrape by until his conditions improved, he decided to take cash advances on every single one of his credit cards, which ended up being about
Fucking idiot.
$3,000 so that he could travel to and attend EVO. This decision mangled him financially so bad that he spent the next 5 years only managing to pay off the interest. And then later in his career, trolls discovered that Phil had apparently spent, the detractors, in Phil's words, discovered that Phil had apparently spent nearly $40,000 on WWE Superstars, which is a
More than that, the initial to get to, what was it, VIP level 12 or whatever he was at, the initial spending to get to there was $40,000. But, especially with the bank reveal showing that he spends more a month on WWE champions than he does his mortgage, like, well, let's see. Even if you said, all right, well, not every month, only some months. But, all right, $1,500 times 12 times a year for the months, and then been out for what? 6 years? Let's say only say 5 years. That's still $90,000 minimum. But again, some months he was well over $2,000. Other months he's only like $1,200. So he's definitely over $100,000 on that game.
A like stupid mobile game. Upon finding an account in the game called They Call Me DSP, the same as Phil's Twitter handle, they began examining when that account was active and when Phil was tweeting. Lo and behold, the times matched up. Given that's no damning piece of evidence, but it was something. Next up was ascertaining just how much money that account had spent in the game over the years. And the figure they came up with was a gruesome $38,976. He spent just shy of $40,000, which, to put things in perspective, maybe for some younger viewers who don't know how much like things cost, 40 grand can be a
I could have bought my car and had $8,000 left over. I could have flat out bought my car and had $8,000 left over. Mind you, DSP just paid off his car back in July. He had a 6-year loan on that car. He could have bought it twice for just what he spent to get to level 13 VIP.
a down payment on a house. 40 grand is like a new BMW 3 Series, okay? This is serious money. And that's what he spent on a WWE mobile game. Is this like a good game? Can anybody tell me if WWE Superstars is like fire game or something? Because Phil's really into it.
I've played it. It's not very good.
I mean, he spent like an entire car on it. It must be a good game, no? Okay, so I'm looking up like footage of it right now, and it seems to be like, it's like a card game, sort of. Like, it's not really like a real combat game. You just like open cases, and I mean, this is just like the worst. This is like the worst mobile game of all time. This looks like trash, bro. What is wrong with you, Phil? Why do you like this, man? Now, Phil's not in danger of living in the sewer. He has some income, but with habits like that, it's no wonder people find him so fascinating. Someone who's so mind broken that they will beg their audience for money, demand their audience for money on stream after stream after stream after stream, while doing nothing to stop their poor spending habits or increase the quality of the content, apart from like wearing a vest, I guess. I would probably consider that failure, and I would also consider being like $500,000 in debt of his own will with no way to pay it off, specifically because of reckless decisions he made to be, you know, failure. That's a bad position to be in. I'd like Phil to get better, but he seems unwilling to even acknowledge his own issues in the first place, never mind changing his life to deal with those massive problems, which is what we saw on the Side Scrollers podcast.
Will you, and you can say no, and I'm totally fine with this, but just confidentially between us, will you send me a screenshot of your account, of your WWE account, and just so I personally, I will not share your name to anybody, but just between us.
Man, I have to think about
and vouch for you.
Yeah, and I will vouch for you either way.
I have to think about what kind of risk that. I don't want to say. Here's the thing, I'll consider it, but I can't agree to it yet. I have to see what's the risk, you know.
And this is an excuse, of course, because I think he did spend
There was no risk, jackass.
that money on the mobile game. At the end of the day, I think Phil refuses to acknowledge some of his bigger problems, and as a result, it's led to a lot of negative circumstances.
What? And I know someone will send this to Turkey Tom. So that's what I would have to ask him. If he really is serious about making a serious documentary, right?
He has to talk to me so I can lie to him, guys.
The decade of failure. If I'm better off today than I was before,
But you're
if
not.
I'm healthier, if I'm happier, if I'm more...
You're not wealthier. Yeah, you got rid of $131,000 worth of debt, but you just recently paid off your car, had to make minimum payments for 6 years, and you still owe hundreds of thousands of dollars on your condo. I guess.
successful when it comes to having a following of people who actually like me for who I am, as opposed to drama or being an idiot on the internet, right? If everything is better now, right? Besides my level of popularity, my views are down, and yes, my income is less than it used to be. But literally, if that's it, if that's all that's different, right? Then how can you say it's a decade of failure? Again, if you say a decade of decline, a decade on the downward slope, that all makes sense to me. That would, your criteria is based on views and popularity. You're correct. You're absolutely correct. But I'm not sad. I'm not unhappy. So how am I?
You are very sad and pathetic.
A failure. Everything that I'm doing today is what I've wanted to do. Like, it's intentional. How I wanted things to go and what I wanted to do. So how is that failure? That's what I really don't get. It would be one thing if like I was trying to
Oh,
be
what a voice crack.
a top gaming YouTuber and I was failing, and I was trying all the things. I was putting out all the stops. I was using the thumbnails. I was doing the clickbait. I was trying to follow all the trends, and I just couldn't do it. Then yeah, then that's a failure. I literally am not doing that, nor have I ever tried to do that. So how is that failure? I would love an answer, a legit answer. Oh, what do I do here? Oh, I see. Wait.
I mean, I did make a 2-hour video about this, Phil. If you really want to know, like, you will find out if you watch the video. It's not a total secret. Like, if you watch the 2-hour content, if you actually click on the video with the title, then the title is like generally explained, and this applies for almost every video as well. So I don't know how much time you spend on YouTube these days, Phil, but if you click on a video, usually you'll find out what the title meant. But even here, Phil isn't being entirely honest, is he? Back in the day, he did want to be one of the top gaming YouTubers. He wanted to succeed. He was always talking about how much work he was putting in and time he was putting in, and oh, I actually treat this like an actual job. You know, he wanted to be #1. He just had poor production quality.
And again, it was his business, and still is his business.
He was refusing to put in the effort he actually needed to make it happen. He was set in his ways, recording his TV screen and uploading clip after clip after clip after clip. And at one point, when he felt like he was a big shot, he bought a 3 Series, which is a nice car, but it's also an expensive car, both to purchase and to maintain. He was never thinking in the long term. He just sort of acted like he was going to make the money he was making forever, and he didn't. That's part of why I consider him to be a failure as well. He completely failed to assess where he could be within just a few years by putting all of his eggs in one basket. And as a result, it really cost him a lot. If mentally, Phil is doing better than ever before, then good. No therapist needed, no Prozac, no belly rubs before bed. He's doing good. He's eating his little dog food. Good for him, okay? But on paper, I think there's no denying that he's made a series of continuous mistakes, a severe and continuous lapse in his judgment, which has led him to be in a less than ideal position in his life. He had the chance to live a life that very few can even dream of, and for a bit, he was living it, okay? You know how many people in his position who like Street Fighter or whatever, and are like 38 years old, would love to be a Let's Player? So many people. And he got it. He had the chance, and you know, a little bit of it was right time, right place, a little bit of it was luck, and a little bit of it was because people did like Phil early on and they found him entertaining. But he got too comfortable, his ego got too big, and he squandered that opportunity all on his own. While he may have a following now and make some money off of that following, he had a truly huge opportunity to make double or triple what he did at his peak, and he ruined that, and that's, you know, why I would say
If he had adopted Capture Card earlier, back when it was the new hot thing, he probably would have kept some of the fans a little bit longer. You know what? If for 2 years he made an extra $30,000, man, it's an extra 60 grand in his pocket because he adopted the Capture Card earlier. And let's say he did a few more Cooking with the King. He did a few more DSP Tries It, like his fans wanted and asked for and said they'd give him money for. Maybe make more money. Like, it's a bunch of small, minor things that if he had done this, if he had done that, would have been 10 grand here, 20 grand there, which, across 15 years, adds up. If he had made an extra 10 grand a year across 15 years, that's $150,000 to his name. Instead, no, I'm not doing that. I don't know how to do it, guys. It's too difficult. I don't know how. I can't do that, guys. It's impossible. I don't make any money off of that, off the ad revenue, guys. I don't make ad revenue money. Well, what about the Patreon money that paid for it? Shut up! Don't mention Patreon. Link in the manual ban.
say it's failure, right? He failed.
Yo, that's what I would ask Turkey Tom. Someone asked him that question, and that's a legit question. I'm not hating on his documentary. I've heard good things about it. I just don't like the title. They call it the decade of on the downward slope, the decade of decline, the has been. All that's correct. Literally, all those statements are correct, and they're equally as negative. But when you say a decade of failure, I disagree. That I think is bullshit. But everything else, it seems fine to me. I haven't heard anything too overly ridiculous, exaggerated, or negative about his documentary. So.
Well, sorry to break it to you, Phil, but I'm not going to change that, to be honest. I think it's a good title, and hopefully in this video I've justified that to you a little more. I once again maintain you could have just watched the video that I made previously to understand, but, whatever. Or maybe just look back at your own life, because, I mean, you did live it. Everything that happened in the video is stuff that you dealt with. And it's weird because Phil seems unwilling to even engage with content about him that could help his success. I feel like if when people made negative videos about him, he reacted to it, it could get more attention on his channel. He isn't exactly working with a lot of other YouTubers, so this would be a way for him to indirectly collaborate with people and get some eyes on him and, pitch into the drama, but it's in a way that, like, is making content, right? He's actually making something that people can watch and go back to watch and enjoy. He shouldn't react to every negative comment about him, but reacting to some of them seems like a decent way to drive traffic to his channel. But he's not having it. He's totally against that. He says it like over and over again in multiple streams. He's done with drama. He doesn't want to be involved in drama anymore, I guess.
Okay, so that's why, why I still bring this up today? Because look what's going on. The documentary just released. Everyone's talking about it and wants me to talk about it. I have nothing to say. I'm not going to watch it. I don't have time for it. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not slamming.
You have nothing going on in your life. You have literally all the time in the world. You literally sat on your stream and bitched for about 20 minutes today about how they robbed me, guys. They robbed my grocery cart. You bought your groceries and you'd already paid for them. You're leaving. They came out and grabbed your cart. No, I forgot something, so I waddled away. About 5 minutes later, when I came back, my cart was gone. Well, you're a jackass who left your cart behind. Why didn't you just bring the cart with you? It was too heavy. Alrighty then.
I haven't seen it. You can't slam something that you haven't seen.
I don't totally get this argument, or not argument, just statement really. Like, you're a YouTuber who spends all day recording yourself playing video games. Surely, in your busy schedule, you could find time to watch something on stream. Hell, more reaction content would probably help you grow, because then you're, reacting to different people's content, you're giving your opinion, and then people who are fans and people who are detractors who want to hear out your thoughts on different subjects because they find it entertaining can get that. But he's just averse to this out of principle, I guess, and a lot of this seems to stem back to Keemstar in some way.
He should have watched the documentary on Sunday. Just saying.
To make fun of the Down the Rabbit Hole documentary. Oh, anyone who makes a documentary about me is terrible. Then I actually watched it, and I was like, it wasn't ill-intentioned. You could tell that there's some misinformation in it. But it wasn't ill-intentioned at all, and I have no ill will towards Frederick Knudsen because I actually feel like he was trying to do a legit documentary about me at that time, So I don't know. I haven't seen the documentary. This is a new one. I don't care to. I don't want to get toxic again. I'm trying to stay away. So I hope that people understand that.
Why am I toxic?
I hope he understands that. It's not a slight against him that I don't want to watch his documentary. I promised my audience that this year I would stay out of the drama shit, and I am going to stick to that commitment. I'm not going to go back on it all of a sudden because there's a chance for personal gain. Okay.
You know what? I disagree with this decision here, but if this is really how Phil feels and he just wants to stay out of drama when he can, then maybe that'd be good for him. I don't know. Maybe it's better for his mental health. He doesn't want to mythologize and retread all of his old shit. He wants to move on to greener pastures and just game and chill and spend all the donations he gets on mobile games and new BMWs. Good for you, bro. I hope it makes you happy. I hope your heart fills with warmth anytime you boot up your stream. And, this isn't even me being ironic. Like, I truly do hope that Phil can find a way to be happy.
There's other stuff going on right now. People trying to pull me into their toxic shit, and I'm absolutely, positively not going to pay attention to it. I don't care. I really don't give two what's said. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to say it as clearly as possible to the entire internet right now. I don't care. All right? You can say whatever you want about me. You can say as much nonsense. You can bring it all up. It's this simple. I'm happy with where I am in my life right now.
No, you're not.
Everything, is good. So I'm not going to allow anyone to try to sour that for me and my audience with their own bullshit and nonsense. It doesn't matter who you're talking to, what you're saying about me. None of it matters. It's all nonsense.
So I think what he's referencing here is the LolCow podcast, or now called LolCow Live, which was a show with Boogie and Wings that he turned down because he doesn't like Keemstar, I guess. I think it would have been a great show, and it would have helped Phil a lot, I guess, but he doesn't.
Not just the initial $50,000 up front, but you get exposure from other people like Keemstar. You're going to tell me Keemstar doesn't have a bunch of people watching him just because he's Keemstar that may not know about DSP that much? So he goes on a show, hosted or funded, whatever, by Keemstar. Suddenly, he gets an extra 50 eyes on him. And during one or two streams when he's got those extra eyes on him, he gets an extra $50. Hey, there's more WWE champion spending to get to do. Nope, can't do it.
Doesn't want to emasculate himself or something by being involved in the project. And I think he's referencing the fact that they've been talking about him a bit. Boogie in particular hates Phil because basically the deal initially was that Keem would give them all $50,000 to do this show if Phil was involved. Money that he definitely needed and that obviously Wings and Boogie also needed. But he turned it down, I guess, because Keemstar was involved in some way. And then supposedly he tried to steal the podcast from Keemstar, according to him at least.
The whole idea of me, him, and Wings being on a podcast that was going to have Keemstar's involvement, and I guess Boogie still has some resentment there where he's upset. I cost him and Wings $50,000.
I'd rather be miserable. I'd rather stand in the corner and cry all over myself for a living, which also cost me a $50K payday, which also cost Wings a $50K payday. So he screwed everybody over.
I don't like Keemstar. I don't like the content he puts out, nor do I like what he stands for as a person. I think that he's kind of a despicable person. I would never do business.
Now people were like, oh, why do you hate Phil? Why does Duty hate Phil? Why does Hate Army hate Phil? It's like, it's not really hate. It's more, he's entertaining for the wrong reasons. You find something that he says or does, like the grocery bag, reusable bags being stolen from his car and how he was robbed at the grocery store. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? No, he's 100% serious. He really is going to claim that he was robbed because he walked away from his cart, and by the time he got back to his cart had been put away. Jackass. But Boogie and Wings, they 100% have a reason to hate DSP. Actually, they have about $50,000 worth of reasons to hate DSP.
With this man.
Like I said, there's more to this, which I've already gone into a bit, but I'm going to go into it with another video pretty soon. But so far, the build-up to this show has been pretty funny. Wish Phil would go on. Would love to talk to him on my own channel or on the LolCow Live channel, but if he doesn't want to do it, then there's not much I can do about that, right? This is probably the last time I'm going to talk about DSP unless he does something super dumb, or maybe in a year or two, I could do an update to the big 2-hour-long video, but with him not watching the video and not engaging, there's just not much you can do, and ultimately, I think I've milked him enough. The 2-hour video is probably enough, right? But if you haven't seen that video, be sure to check it out. Put a lot of time into it, and I think you guys who haven't seen it would definitely enjoy it. Thanks to Duty Streams on YouTube and Poems Future on Twitter for clipping these streams so I could easily find the content instead of having to watch multiple hours of Darkside Phil to find it, because honestly I think I've watched enough Darkside Phil at this point. I've honestly just had enough. Anyway, I'll see you all tomorrow, and be sure to become a member for $5.
All right, Turkey Tom. Glad to see you respond. A video 2 years from now from Turkey Tom about DSP. What could it be about? Could it be, oh, since the 2 years I made my documentary, the fucker died live on stream. He was screaming about how game developers need to die in the fire because Super Mario Wonderland 2 was just too hard. It's supposed to be a kid's game, and it was harder than Dark Souls. While he was ranting and raving and flailing his arms about, he had a stroke and died on stream. So, this is the last video I get to make about him because he's dead. Had to wait and see. Anyways, with that, guys, I'll let you go. Thank you for watching. As always, like, subscribe, comment down below, and have one hell of a day.